Okay, and in this episode we got to get the Miata ready for the track, and that involves a little bit of prep work. So in this episode we're going to get the steering wheel switched out with something a little bit better, and we're also going to install the most important safety aspect for the car, which is going to be the roll bar. So stick around. Okay, we are going to change out this steering wheel for this fancy Sparco steering wheel. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the old steering wheel, remove the airbag, and swap in our short hub and quick release. Okay, so here is the stock clock spring. Don't turn too much, otherwise you might ruin it. Trace the wires all the way back, and you can see there are those two plugs, the blue and the orange. We're gonna have to unplug that. I believe the orange one is our horn, and the blue one is gonna be the airbag sensor, I wanna say. But yeah, you're gonna have to kind of separate these two wires from the rest of the steering column loom, and just unplug those and take them out. Okay, to get the horn to work, there is this orange plug that we unplugged earlier, and we're just gonna snip it here. It looks like somebody already replaced this wheel before because of this little crimp tool right here, but you're gonna cut it off, and we're going to extend that wire, and we're gonna plug this back in under the dash, and this is going to run all the way up to our new steering wheel so that we can use a horn. Okay, so we got the horn wire, and we used one of the old clock spring screws that we're not going to use anymore. And then also we're going to use this kind of like extension wire. A lot of people use a paper clip, but I had this really tough copper wire instead. And what that is going to do is that'll make contact with the back of the short hub here. And as it stays connected, that is going to give you your electrical connection for your horn. So let's go ahead and get the short hub in and continue with the install. Alright, the steering wheel is installed. It looks great. Quick disconnect. Mad race car status. Feels good, can still reach everything. You know, I never actually had an aftermarket steering wheel before, so this is actually pretty dope. But yeah, I'm super stoked. Install wasn't so bad and pretty dang good. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is this soft top has to come out. It's not gonna fit with the roll bar that we got here. So we're gonna yank this out, which is fine. I was probably gonna run a bikini top anyway. So that's gonna come out. Most likely the passenger seat is gonna go out as well because the driver's seat leave in just in case I need to drive it around. Still have a coolant issue that I need to figure out, so I still need to drive the car. Okay, so now we have the top up, we're inside of the car. It really helps if you have your seats removed to give you a lot of room. I have the passenger seat removed for the time being, so that's super convenient. We got the trim off the side of the car that exposes the 3 bolts, or nuts rather, that hold the soft top frame onto the body of the car. And I already went ahead around and took out all of the clips that hold the carpet to the soft top. And there's a bunch of 10mm, I believe, bolts that hold on the these rails, rain rails and everything like that on the soft top that we're just gonna go ahead and take all of them off right now. Okay, soft top is off. Top tip, make sure you wear a mask because it is dusty and there's all kinds of nasty ass stuff that's probably sitting in your 30-year-old Miata. We got a bunch of rust here, so we're gonna have to clean that up just a little bit, but it's okay because it's gonna be covered with carpet anyway, but the top is off, so that's gonna be a huge load off. I think next we're probably just gonna pull the panels and some seat belts and other stuff and continue putting the roll cage on. Adopted the darkness. I was born in it, molded by it.
I haven't seen light until I was
diddled by it. Cool. We got the roll bar dry fitted in. Definitely cut my hand on this area here, so if you're doing this, be careful for yourself. So the wires were a bit of a pain to get out of the way because the roll bar only just fits into under the rear shelf here. So it was a bit of a tight fit, but with some friends, I think we struggled with it for like 15 minutes. It wasn't so bad. The second thing that we're gonna have to do after this is the ECU bracket. I mean, I already did it, but we had to kind of make a cut here so that it could fit the the roll bar bracket here. Not too bad, just took the angle grinder to it. 4 Phillips head screws holds this left side bracket off, so just modify it as needed. There's a stud behind here that this bracket used to mount up to, so we're gonna have to either shave that off or cut that off so that it doesn't interfere with the bracket here. And yeah, I think we're ready to start bolting everything in so that we can start drilling the holes and mounting the backing plates. That's probably going to be the second toughest thing about this job, so let's get into it. Okay, update. What have I done so far off camera? It was a couple of hours just kind of struggling getting wires out of the way and making sure the roll bar was lined up, so I didn't want to put that on camera really because it's nothing interesting. But let me just put you into kind of what done since. So seatbelt, right? So for this particular roll bar, all we did was take out the original OEM bolt here and loosely, like tool tight or hand tight, a little bit more than hand tight, I'd say tool tight, nice and snug, the roll bar that bolts into the original seatbelt bottom bolt. So we got that in, so that kind of lined everything up and is going to hold the roll bar in place while we start to do our drilling. So the car is jacked up. As you can see, wheel is off, and this is on both sides. Double check and confirm that you are not pinching any wires. You do not want any of your wiring harnesses to get cut by the cage. So where am I? Okay, so the first holes that we're going to be drilling are for the back brackets. According to the instructions, we're going to go ahead and drill the holes for those first and get them bolted down before we drill these bottom 3 here and tighten everything down. So the trick is, they said that if you had an angle drill, you'd be able to drill from the top, which is obviously the easiest and best solution. I have an angle drill that I bought hoping that it would make my job a little bit easier, but that wasn't the case. This angle, you can't even get anything straight through, so it was pretty much useless. I would probably say if you had a 12-inch 3/8 drill bit, then it would be a little bit easier because you just kind of come up from the top. But the alternative solution is what you do is you get a hole punch, or a center punch rather, and I don't know if you can see, but that bolt right there, that's the one that I ended up center punching, and the metal's pretty thin, so if you give it a good couple whacks, you'll be able to get a pretty decent indentation from the top. Then is you look for an indentation that's coming down, and you'll be able to see it. It's pretty obvious, and that's pretty much where your hole is lined up. So you take your drill and just as best as you can, nice and slow so it doesn't walk off center, drill your first hole using that indentation as a marker. And then once that's drilled in, they recommend that you throw a bolt in and tighten it down pretty snug with one of the backing plate brackets. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the rest of the holes through the bottom here because we can actually fit a drill through here, and we're going to drill upwards, and that is going to give us our holes for the rest of this mounting point here. Okay, so we got both rear plates bolted in. It's a lot easier with a friend, so I suggest you do that. But we got the plates bolted in, and so now the next step, and what we're going to do is we're going to slightly loosen these so that the bar kind of adjusts itself according to the instructions. And then once that's loosened up, we're going to tighten the bolts on the area right there where the seat belts bolt in. Once those are tightened down to spec, then we'll retighten the backing plates back up to spec. And then we get to do and drill the 3 remaining holes, but these are super easy ones, so let's get to it. Okay, roll cage is bolted in. We got all our holes drilled. Everything's all buttoned down. All we gotta do now is clean up the wiring to make sure nothing is out of the way and secure and everything like that, while we continue with, you know, getting the seats in and the rest of the interior in. But I will say this, it's not too bad of an install process, but you're definitely gonna want to have a buddy to help you. If you don't got no friends, you know, go out there, talk to somebody, make some friends, because it's incredibly helpful to have a second pair of hands when you're doing stuff like drilling and trying to, you know, bolt the bolts down, as well as just like fitting the roll cage in, because the clearances are very, very, very tight. But we got everything in. It's looking really, really, really good. I think it really changes how the car looks. So let's just keep going with the rest of the track prep and the interior. Okay, one of the final things we need to do before we get the rear shelf all buttoned up is we just gotta take a little bit off of this cover here. So I got my favorite tool, angle grinder. I'm just gonna cut little pieces off. Okay, so we replaced the fuel pump cover here. We were able to get that from a wrecked Miata at a junkyard because, as you can see, the one that came off the car had completely rusted through. So that was a nice find. Looks a lot better now. Okay, so the final thing that we need to do to finish up this roll bar installation is we got to trim these plastic side pieces here. I already did it on the other side, and I can show you in a sec, but basically we're going to cut a straight line down and then also a little bit off of here to fit the bar and then the bottom bracket. As you can see, we already kind of did it here. I mean, it's probably a little bit hard to see, but yep, plastic's in there, and it fits around the roll bar. Now I'm gonna say straight up, you wanna be really careful depending on how you cut it. I guess the best way to do it is if you had like a reciprocating saw, like one of those little tiny ones that you can use to cut it. I think a Dremel would be really too slow, but I mean, if you had a really good Dremel, it probably cuts a lot better because this plastic's pretty thick. I use an angle grinder, but I will say that I got burnt pretty bad. It was like napalm, and it blistered and everything. So be careful, wear gloves, and all that good stuff when you're doing this kind of thing. Okay, and that's gonna go ahead and do it for today's episode. We got the steering wheel installed, and we also got our roll bar installed. So we're looking pretty good and ahead of schedule, which is actually the first time in a long time. So thanks again for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you wanna see the rest of the Miata build. We appreciate any comments as well. And stick around for the next episode when we finish up the rest of our track prep. Thanks for watching.